Spoiler warning, this video contains manga spoilers. Hello everyone, this is Tengetsu, and today I'll be covering my own personal ideas on what would happen if Michikatsu, also known as Kokushibo, had Yoriichi's potential. We start in Michikatsu's early years. Him and his brothers are equal in everything except social status and personality. With Michikatsu being the older brother, he had the right to inherit. Twins, already being looked down upon in their society, were thought to bring bad luck and were also thought to be a bad omen, so the parents raised them separate from one another. Michikatsu being trained in samurai arts whilst Yoriichi was to help at a temple. Michikatsu, being so strong at an early age now, easily defeats all of his trainers, breaking many of their bones in the process. This was of course an unprecedented event and made their parents overjoyed. Having such a talented son was a ticket into being set for life. Being curious, they had Yoriichi test his skills against an opponent as well. And, to their utmost surprise, he easily defeated the trainers as well. This was nothing short of a miracle. Word quickly began to spread about the twins. Many were interested, but even more were fearful. This kind of strength and raw talent, that just wasn't something that any normal human would just have. And them also being twins, the people began calling them demons. Yoriichi would just nod his head, looking down at the ground when being called this, but Michikatsu, having always been a more rash person, punched them immediately. This caused an outrage in the community, leading to both Michikatsu and Yoriichi being sent away by their father, who wanted to save some face by siding with the villagers. Michikatsu was outraged at this, while Yoriichi, while still being mad, came to accept it. The twins grew closer over this time, finding a place to rest in a monastery. They studied in the ways of the monk, which was quite eye-opening to Yoriichi, but it's only really annoying Michikatsu, who was still secretly honing and training in hopes of someday still becoming a strong samurai and getting revenge on their father. We skip ahead some years, both boys now being in their teens. Yoriichi was now a respected member of the monastery, being wise beyond his years, and then some, whilst Michikatsu was just seen as his brother really. While they're equals on the battlefield, Michikatsu holds the views of a samurai as sacred, honor, of course, being the most important. And being as hard-headed as he is, he didn't really fit into the monk culture as well as Yoriichi did. The twins were much closer here than in the original, even training together some days after heavy convincing from Michikatsu, but their difference in personality was still just too much, which led to an argument. Michikatsu, still holding his dream of being a samurai over everything, wanted to convince his brother to go with him into the unknown, make a name for themselves, whilst Yoriichi argued that they should stay here to make up for the kindness that the monks showed them. This led to Michikatsu grabbing his things and running away. Of course, he still thanked the monks for feeding him and clothing him for those years, as he is still a very well-behaved person after all. Yoriichi stayed behind, but still, he prayed for his brother's success every day. This is also where he would meet his future wife, who will be quite important in the future. Many months have passed now. Michikatsu had, indeed, made a name for himself. He was now clad in traditional armor, having been taken into a samurai clan who used him as their blade. Michikatsu was happy. He had everything he wanted right now. He was like around 17 years old now and could fight well. He had friends, mentors, whom he could trust, and was close to one day becoming a samurai. Or at least, that is what he thought. One day, after winning against a rival clan and claiming their land, he was betrayed by the clan leader, who, thinking that he had gotten all he could out of him, now only saw the boy as a threat. He was quickly surrounded by the massive army, and they attempted to arrest him. Even though he fought valiantly, he just couldn't win against an entire army. And so, after tiring out, he was taken in and placed before the Lord, who ordered him to be executed. Michikatsu was, of course, crushed by this. He sat in his wooden cell waiting for his eventual end and wondering what he had done to deserve such a life when, out of nowhere, he saw bright red eyes disappearing into the home of the Lord. Sudden shouting broke the deafening silence as a demon ravaged through everyone. Michikatsu watched intently, seeing people he thought he knew so well being ravaged, which of course frightened him, but he wasn't sad. Having been betrayed by everyone he respected once more, a deep-seated anger formed within him. Suddenly, someone who looked suspiciously like him appeared in the distance. For a second he thought he was hallucinating, but no, that was definitely his twin brother, who was now entering the house. Michikatsu attempted to warn him. He was frightened that his brother would die, but he couldn't. His voice had given out. But, to his confusion, Yoriichi walked out again, unscathed, carrying an injured person and attempting to nurse them back to health. Finding his voice again, Michikatsu shouted his brother's name, which shocked Yoriichi, who quickly came over. Yoriichi was stunned, seeing his brother, who he remembered as the stoic warrior, beaten and bloodied, and he quickly helped him out of the wooden cage. They talked a lot, sitting around a fire. Michikatsu explained what had happened to him, and Yoriichi listened intently. But when he asked Yoriichi what he had been doing, he looked away in shame. Yoriichi explained that one day, whilst he was away gathering something for the monastery, it was attacked by a demon, but he wasn't there to defend them, so now he swore himself to the destruction of demons. Michikatsu felt a bit inspired by this and asked to join Yoriichi, which the twin obviously agreed to quickly, and they began training together. They both developed separate breathing styles with moon and sun breathing. However, this time moon breathing wasn't a direct offshoot of sun breathing, but its own thing, similar in concept but still different. Then together was an immense threat to demonkind, which was made even larger after they began forming the Demon Slayer Corps. However, once again, the differences that the brothers had made themselves known. The group was technically under one name, but it was really split in two. One being Yoriichi's group, the Demon Slayers we all know, which were more free in their actions and how they fought, developing their own breathing styles dependent on their own strength. The other was Michikatsu's group, which was filled with stoic warriors who adhered to a strict code and attempted to learn moon breathing directly. Of course, they couldn't do so they made a direct descendant of it, which they named rock breathing. This is of course different from stone breathing in the original, which still exists here. The two groups often clashed, one saying that the other didn't value honor enough, the other claiming the exact opposite. Michikatsu argued constantly to Yoriichi, while Yoriichi simply said to accept their differences. This, of course, infuriated Michikatsu, who felt his brother believed himself superior, which, of course, as we all know Yoriichi, he certainly did not. Time passes as now the two brothers began actual families of their own. Michikatsu having many children already, whilst Yoriichi was still waiting on his first. But then, tragedy struck once more. Yoriichi's family, under the protection of Michikatsu's order, was attacked by a very powerful demon, one we all know, Muzan. When the two brothers returned from their duties, they were met with the aftermath. It was a massacre. Their home was burned to the ground, the air filled with smoke and the smell of blood. Michikatsu was stunned, standing in what used to be their entrance. Yoriichi quickly sprinted in, only to find a grotesque scene. Almost every single one of Michikatsu's order was dead, having been absolutely destroyed. But one thing was still missing, Yoriichi's wife and unborn child. He searched all around, but he couldn't find them. They were gone. Michikatsu, recovering as well as he can in this situation, also walked into the home, or at least what was left of it, to see the destruction caused by the demon. He felt disgust, seeing what the demon had done to his order, his people, but he also felt disgust toward their weakness. Why couldn't they hold the demon off? By the looks of it, it was only one. He grasped the pillar next to him in an attempt to ground himself, but he held it so hard that it burst into pieces. The hate inside him was bubbling to the surface once more. He raged, shouting into the sky that he would find whoever had done this and butcher them. Yoriichi was just standing near him. His eyes were those of someone who was feeling unimaginable grief. What they didn't know was that Yoriichi's family was indeed safe. One member of Michikatsu's order got them to safety before anything had happened. That member had an extremely good sense of smell, and so they knew what was coming sooner than the others. That person was Sumiyoshi Kamado, still young but a devoted warrior who had now brought the family back to his home, a small house from where he sold charcoal with his wife. Cutting back to the twins, they were now on a hunt. They didn't exchange a single word, but they both knew what they had to do. Their bodies were tense. The darkness surrounded them completely, pressing against their senses, but neither faltered. The forest was quiet. It was too quiet. Every sound they made, every rustle of leaves, snap of a twig, or a distant cry of an animal made them pause and look. Their eyes swept constantly from shadow to shadow. They needed to fight the demon. They needed to hunt him. They needed to get their revenge. Yoriichi, still thinking that his family was dead, now felt as if he had nothing to lose, grasping his sword tightly. Michikatsu, who had now lost what he thought was his entire order, once again felt betrayed by the life he was given. That every single time he had something good, it was immediately taken from him. He wanted revenge, he wanted it now, and he was going to look for it. If you want to find out how this story concludes, whether Michikatsu becomes Kokushibo here as well, or if he and his brother finally get the revenge they've been seeking, you'll have to check out the next part of this What If. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and if you enjoyed this What If, please consider subscribing for more, and liking the video. This is all for now, goodbye.